Welcome, everybody. As you know, this is kind of a special meeting because after 20 years and really hundreds and hundreds of these meetings with you folks, I am saying goodbye. But I want to make this is definitely a very important meeting, especially to help you stay on your path to your APR. So we're going to get right to it. We want you to sign in. Have you set a date to take the APR examination? What is your status? Go ahead and get into the text chat and just let us know what date have you set for what is your target date for the examination. May 14th, that's coming, May 12th, that's coming right up. That's fantastic. Really looking forward. And I want to make sure everybody knows my email is staying active through the whole thing. So please do contact me when you get your APR, because really it's a wonderful experience to know when people get their APR. And really the only way I find out, frankly, is from you. So please do reach out when you get your APR. Also, today we're going to focus on the panel presentations, and these are very important presentations. They're the first part of the test. So the test is both the computer-based examination and the panel presentation. They are connected, and they're connected in so many ways. And we talked over and over again, and you've heard me say over and over again, study the process of ARPI, study the research planning, implementation, and evaluation, because the panel presentation is based on that as well. It's really going to help you if you study all of the KSAs, study ARPI before doing your panel presentation. Many people do it first, and then they think they don't have to study the ARPI business. Wrong. Figure out how to really dig into ARPI. The KSAs in the panel presentation are different than the computer-based examination because there are things, their presentation style, your ability to listen, things that you cannot do on a computer-based examination. So we're going to hopefully simulate some of that tonight. And if you have already passed your panel presentation, this will help you in your computer-based examination as well, because ARPI is the largest area of the examination. So panel presentation tips, and we're going to get some of these from our panel as well. We say study the modules first. Of course, oddly, and I'm going to let you know, I'll say it over and over again, you have access to all of the modules. Even if your course is expired, just write an email to me. I will extend it. But when I extend it, it will only extend until August 15th. So you have a real hard deadline for those of you studying. So study those modules. Prepare a case first, because that abstractly helps you understand what they want for the panel presentation. Then create a draft. You don't have to even apply for the examination. You could show it to all of your colleagues and ask them if it makes sense. Share it with your coach. We encourage you. There is, for those of you who do not have a mentor or a coach, now is the time. I will continue to help you through August 15th. Get a coach or a mentor. It is a success factor. There is an activity at the beginning of the course map called Connections. Go in there. It has multiple strategies to connect with an APR mentor or a coach. Then you can revise, and actually the process of revising a panel presentation is the most important study skill, because you think to yourself, what would I do now that I've heard some feedback from others? That's when it really clicks. So it's really important to revise, and don't pretend like you know, like it's done, because no communication plan is ever done. So also think about best practices, and I'm going to make a comment about that. The APR is about professional practice. it is about a standardized is the wrong word. It's about a logical progression and process for developing communication plans. So, best practices are really important. Following the process is incredibly important for the examination and for your panel presentation. We encourage you to do your panel presentation, do your questionnaire before even applying for the APR examination. So, and here it is. You do not need to apply for the APR examination in order to prepare, in order to do any of this study. You can do all of this study to the point where you feel, I've really got this. That's when you apply for the examination, because then you can go boom, boom, boom through the process and get your APR. The case problem response is a critical milestone activity. It really does help you understand those planning components. I've seen so many people say, you know what, I don't have enough time to do a practice communication plan. It really helps you do a better panel presentation when you do that milestone activity 6.6 in the online study course. The panel presentation and communication planning itself involve all of the KSAs. So it is important to dig into all of those KSAs and think about, how would I use this in a communication planning experience? Think about communication models and theories. They're not something separate from communication planning. They are the heart of why we reach out to certain audiences. Communication models and theories are, and ethics really are ways to connect with your audience in a stronger fashion than you would if you just listed an audience and sent out some sort of media release to them. Finding a mentor. I said it so many times, and people call me and say, and email me and say, I don't have a mentor. If you go through the process, the connections activity, and you do all of the ways of reaching out, which is to post a help wanted or a mentor wanted, look at the APRs in the introduction area. You can see APR in each one of them. You connect to the LinkedIn group. If you do all of those things and write 3 people in the course or APRs to ask them to be a mentor or coach, if you do that, I will personally help you and reach out to individuals and connect you. But I'm going to ask you if you've done the activity. If you say you have, and I look at the course and you haven't done the activity, guess what? We have an ethical problem. So do that activity, then reach out to me. So I'm starting to sound like I'm a little bit getting to be a grouchy old man. Rory, help me out here. Introduce yourself and share any feedback you do on what we just discussed.
Sure. I mean, but first, I think, just looking at all of the support, the outpouring support for you, Michael, just want to say congratulations on an amazing 20 years. You've done an incredible job with this course. And as many have said here in the chat, I also would not have gotten my APR without the help of the study course that you had developed. So yeah, just thank you so much for this and also the network that you provided through the online study course. It's been incredible. So
Great.
so yeah, so as far as best practices, I didn't exactly follow them. I was one of those people who actually went in because I needed a deadline, right? So I actually signed up in August 2022, applied essentially, and then had that thought like, oh my God, I'm not prepared for this at all. And then so signed up for the online study course, um, picked up effective public relations, picked up strategies and tactics, just dove into all those. I also did the virtual boot camp as well. So yeah, I just basically tried to do as much as I possibly could. And I do not recommend that approach to anyone. I would absolutely recommend your approach, which is study first, feel comfortable, and then apply later. But yeah, that was kind of my journey. I mean, I could share more, but unless Kurt wants to hop on.
Yeah, and we're going to hear more from you as we go through. And Rory, I have to tell you, I'm really happy that you said that, because frequently I say, study first and then apply. But so many people come at the APR from so many different directions. It's okay to come at it from a different perspective. So Rory, really thank you for getting your APR. That's great. Kurt, how about you?
Wow. Well, I'm not sure how I got the privilege of being a part of this tonight, Michael. So, congratulations on everything that you've accomplished with this group and with this outreach. So, I came in late in the game. I just got my APR in December and was part of this group for the first cohort, full throttle, and then I was in and out of the next two or three as I was studying. So just short of 2 years, I studied to do, and then I did a panel presentation, and then my APR exam. Some I've heard people where it worked for them where they buckled down and in 3 months got it all done. I don't know that that was me at all, but I did the study first, allowed myself that time to get my panel presentation ready, because you learn a lot of what you need to know along the way, as you said, Michael. Just doing your panel presentation is going to help you study for the exam. So doing that first really helped a lot. And then when I felt like I was ready for my panel presentation, I then got the 1 year clock going, and I ended up needing all of that for various reasons between my panel and getting the APR. But it worked well for me. So you, everyone knows themselves, and if you need that pressure, but if not, don't do it if you don't have to. Allow yourself that time, set deadlines, make people be accountable to someone, and make your way through that. So I just encourage everyone to figure out what works for them. But really, if you don't need to, don't put that pressure on yourself, but have some healthy deadlines that can keep you moving.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kurt. We're going to hear more from Rory and Kurt as we go forward. So we have tonight, this is fairly special because we have time really to not only talk about where you're going to go after the APR online study course, but in addition to that, we've got time to really look at what a panel presentation is, but also think about how it might work. And one of the things I'm going to actually go forward just to make sure that that's your first slide, Kirsten. Uh, and we talked about this before people got into the meeting. When a panel presentation happens, as I mentioned, one of the skill sets is listening. And it's really important to understand that the panel may interrupt you. Not may, they probably will interrupt you, because they're not really interested in your collateral. They're not interested in, honestly, although Kirsten made beautiful slides, they're not interested in beautiful slides. They're interested in your strategic thinking. They're interested in whether or not your goal actually solves the problem, or whether your goal is aligned with what your problem is. They're interested in whether or not your audiences will help you get to that goal. They're interested in whether, and so they may ask questions about, why did you pick that audience, or why did you use that objective? How, so they may interrupt you during the session. I want to also stress that this is not a passive experience. Those of you, we have how many people in the meeting? We have 54 people in the meeting. Each one of you should think, if Kirsten came into your office and brought you this communication plan and shared it with you, what would you say was good? What would you say needs improvement? We want you to type in the chat area, and Kirsten, ignore the chat. Find a way to close the chat, because it's going to screw you up. I know from past experience. Don't look at it. I will send it to you later. But go ahead and put into the chat when she is speaking, saying, you know, you might need to work on this, or that is really great. I didn't even think of it when you were sharing your research. So go ahead and give some comments to Kirsten as she is presenting, and then the panel will discuss it later. So here we go. Kirsten, I could give you remote control. Do you want to do that? Do you want to try to do that?
It's okay. You can switch it if you want.
I mean, I can try right now and just see if you can switch the slides.
Okay.
Why don't I try it? I'm giving you remote control, so you should be able to click forward on the slides.
I don't see it.
Okay. In which case, I'm going to follow you and we're going to be just fine. Yeah, it should be on the screen there somewhere. I could try it again. Let me stop it and try it one more time, because I think it might be, especially since it's kind of a big presentation. Did you see it pop up this time?
Yeah, well, I see it pop up for a second. It's just saying click the keyboard or click the
Well,
mouse.
go ahead and click the mouse and see if that takes you forward. There you go. Okay, there you go. See, you got control.
Got it.
All right.
Okay. Just kidding.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hang on.
I can't move my mouse. You go ahead.
Nope, you're fine. Okay. So I've already made a slight change on this. I changed the title of it from panel presentation to Building Bridges, Advancing Education Through the DeKalb Central Foundation by Kirsten Zimbo. And my name is Kirsten Zimbo. My primary role is serving as the Communications Director for DeKalb County Central United School District. In addition to that, I'm also the District Media Center Coordinator, overseeing all of the school libraries across our district. Through my work with communications, I naturally became head of our school foundation, which is called the DeKalb Central Foundation. It is a nonprofit organization, and in these roles, I manage community engagement, school and district marketing, program promotions, crisis communication for the district. I also oversee our social media accounts and websites for the schools, district, and the foundation. As part of my foundation responsibilities, I lead the fundraising efforts to help close resource gaps within our schools. I'm grateful to have the ability to apply my public relations skills across both positions, using my experience as a strategic thinker, community outreach.
Guess what? I'm going to actually interrupt you, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Kirsten, you are a professional. You are a professional communicator. And you know what? You don't need to read this. You can just wing it.
Okay.
See the slide, share from an extemporaneous, because you're going to find the panel would say the same thing.
Okay.
Share extemporaneously. We want to hear about you.
Okay.
So you could go to the next slide, but just do a share. Don't read. It's not going to be good to read.
Okay. So anyway, I was just kind of saying that basically I have a lot of different hats, and that's kind of how it all connects into this plan. So my situational analysis here, basically in 1967, the establishment of the DeKalb Central Alumni Foundation, and it served as a pass-through, and it was basically a way for people to donate to the school district and be able to get a tax break. And then in 2015, we rebranded the foundation to the DeKalb Central Foundation, so dropping alumni. And in 2015 is when I started working as the communications director and with the foundation. And then in 2017, we started doing an annual golf outing. And we did this annual golf outing because with my research that I did, we found that that was the best way to raise money in one event. And it was our most successful fundraiser for the year. And with this, we're hoping to close the resource gaps within our school district. And then in 2019, we were trying to focus from being a pass-through entity to an independent organization that was self-sustaining. So that has been our biggest push now. So the DeKalb Central Foundation, it's made up of a volunteer board, and we have a lot of challenges as a volunteer board, trying to raise sufficient funds and gaining visibility in our new role. Basically, we've existed for a long time, but people don't know who we are, and people don't want to give us money if they don't know who we are and what we do. So those are kind of some of our issues we're trying to overcome. And we have opportunities to be able to get strategic partnerships with our local influencers and nonprofits to help build that community support. However, because of economic downturn and competing for donations, and then our enrollment has declined, which has made the need for the foundation to grow even a bigger need. And our ultimate goal is to close these resource gaps because the mission of our foundation and our district is to have students to be able to enroll in higher education, enlist in the military, and be employed. One of the first things I did was an online survey. So this online survey, basically, it's just asking if people know who, like, first of all, how are you connected to the foundation? Are you a student in the district? Are you a parent, alumni, a community member? And then have you ever heard of the DeKalb Central Foundation? Do you know the mission or the purpose of it? And do you know any grants or attended any events? So I sent this out and I had 1,849 responses. And you can see, for the most part, the students, parents, and our local business organizations were pretty equal in their representation. And you can see the results of our survey were not good. So basically, we had just over 2% that had ever heard of us. And nobody knew our mission. And about 2% of people knew of any grants we'd given, and nobody had attended our events. So you can see it's hard to raise money if nobody knows who you are. So kind of showing the history of our golf outing. As I said before, we started the golf outing in 2017. And you can see kind of how our first outing, we only raised about $2,500. And we've been making some changes, and you can see we have increased our money. So our golfers, we've increased this as well. So when we first started, we only had 24 golfers. And so we obviously need more golfers to be able to create more money. Oops. So for my research, my focus group was one of my methods, and that's informal, primary, and qualitative data. And for this, I spoke to local businesses and organizations about what day of the week would be the best to host a golf outing for them. And they basically said to do it on a Friday because they could count it as their work week instead of a Saturday. And when we first started doing this, we had the golf outing on a Saturday. And so when we changed it to a Friday, that helped with our numbers. Then I did in-depth interviews. I did those with business owners as to what they look for in a successful golf outing. So if they want to participate in one, like which ones do you like to participate in and why? I also talked with our high school athletic director and our band director because they have golf outings that they run that are very successful every year. And they gave me some tips that helped make their golf outing a success. And then I
Kristen?
did intercept interviews, which are informal, primary, and qualitative.
Kirsten,
And
I'm gonna ask a question.
yeah,
Sorry about that. I mean, I get to do it because I can't. Focus groups, were they really a focus group, or was it more of an intercept interview? Did you actually get 15 people together in a room, have a specific set of questions, and then get another group in a room and ask a specific set of questions? Because that's the model of a focus group, whereas intercept interviews or even just informal discussions really are ways that you could get, the best time.
yes, actually I did, because we had on our board, we have community members on that board. And so they helped me get the people to be able to do the focus groups. And so we did have the 15 people and ask them questions and yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Yep. And then the intercept interview, we
If
did
I could-
that
if I could
with
interject too, just briefly, I just want to say that I agree with Michael and that it would be good to put that actually in the focus group cell there at the top, because
Okay.
I kind of had the same thought as well, or
Okay.
actually just I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think Rory is right. It in the explanation and rationale, if it because focus groups usually get to a bigger issue than the best time for a outing.
Well,
I mean,
it was a big issue for them. And we did ask we asked other questions beyond that, but that was kind of our big takeaway from the focus
Okay.
group as
Okay.
to what we gained from having that.
Okay. Well, yeah. Great.
And then the intercept interview, we had the high school athletics golf outing, asking them what did they like about the golf outing and what are things they'd want to improve upon. And then the online survey, which I just showed you the results of that, is formal, primary, and quantitative data. And then historical research, formal, secondary, and quantitative. That's just basically the background information about the foundation and tips for having a successful golf outing. And I have all of the information from our very first golf outing and just kind of looking back through that and reviewing through that. The in-depth interview, I did another one of those with outside foundations. And basically for that, I went to the National School Public Relations Conference, and they had talked about having golf outings being a success. And basically, if you don't make $20,000, then you're wasting your time. And at that time, we were not there. So getting a lot of information from them, and they told us to have the foundation really get into your local businesses and organizations, because sponsorships is where the money's at. And they really put an emphasis on having them involved and getting those sponsorships, because that's the easiest way to make the most amount of money. So that was our big takeaway with that. And then data analysis for that would be informal, primary, qualitative, and quantitative. And that was just looking at the golf outing data and information from previous outings. So the problem statement is that the DeKalb Central Foundation is trying to transition from a pass-through entity into an independent organization to address resource gaps in the DeKalb County Central United School District, especially during tough economic times and the decline in school enrollment. The lack of visibility hampers the foundation's ability to secure financial support needed to raise money for the school district. Into my planning, my goal is to be recognized as a key financial resource in DeKalb County by supporting educational initiatives and enhancing opportunities in the DeKalb County Central United School District. For the publics, the local businesses and organizations is my primary public, and that goes back to my research from the in-depth interviews. The other publics include the DeKalb Central Foundation board members, our high school alumni, DeKalb County Central United School District staff, and then parents. And due to time, I'm just focusing on the local businesses and organizations.
Kirsten, can I ask though? So I noticed that students, did I miss? If we could go back on the other one. So
This
there's
one?
alumni here, but you'd surveyed students, right? Like were
Yes.
those current students?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. So I was wondering if they should be among the publics here, because that could, I'm assuming, be part of that strategy as well.
Right.
Because you did do that research and you did find out that, yeah, awareness among them was low. So that would be also an interesting avenue to explore too.
Yes, thank you. For my key messaging, the mission of the DeKalb Central Foundation bridges students, alumni, and community to support DeKalb Central schools by fulfilling resource gaps and strengthening student success. And these are just some different examples in the pictures of ways that the foundation has helped the school district in providing class sets of books and balance bikes and scholarships. Another key message is that the golf outing, the golf outing is the foundation's main fundraiser for the year. So we put most of our effort into this because it is our largest moneymaker for the year. These are also just examples of different things the foundation has done in the past to help the school district. For my objectives, I have three main objectives. The first one is that 90% of local business and organization members who participate in the golf outing will know the purpose of the DeKalb Central Foundation by July 19th of 2024. And I did the people participating in the golf outing because it's harder to get the poll on everybody. So I was just focusing on the ones that I could communicate the mission of the foundation with. And I was going to do that through my strategy of enhanced brand visibility. And the tactics to do that would be create the DeKalb Central Foundation logo. And I did Christmas cards the year going into the golf outing, the December before. And basically what I did is I handed Christmas cards for everyone who played in the golf outing the previous year and for all of our sponsors as a way to say, hey, here's a save the date. Thank you for showing your support this last year. We look forward to seeing you this year. Here's the save the date. This is a way to help promote it. And then I also included the mission of the DeKalb Central Foundation in the Christmas card as well. And then another tactic was promoting the golf outing with the mission and examples of how the foundation has helped schools. So I had a sheet written up that I had at the golf outing that just gave examples of granting and what our mission was. And then I had a banner, table runner, shirts, and shields displayed at the golf outing. Logos on the goodie bags with thank you cards at the golf outing, and then flyers and save the dates. And then I did press releases before and after the event to the local media outlets to highlight basically our mission and how we've helped the schools.
So Kirsten, two things I think in this section. I think for tactic number 3, you did a good job of explaining that those were printed materials that you would be circulating. So I might actually rephrase that. I would use what you just explained for tactic 3 because promoting the golf outing with mission and examples, that seems like almost like that's like a strategy, right? And then the tactic would be the actual documents and whatnot. So I might, for tactic 3, include that it's a physical document that you're circulating. The other suggestion I might have here is with the strategy. I think the panelists would want you to flesh that out a little bit, right? Like enhanced brand visibility is almost a little too general. So thinking, communicate the foundation's mission clearly across all channels, something like that, right? Where it's still broad. You're still just saying the ladder, but you're not talking about the rungs, right? But you're still, putting a little bit more meat on the bones here.
Okay.
But the objective is fantastic, though. I think it's great.
Okay.
Sure.
Still with my first objective, but my second strategy is a social media campaign. And to achieve that, it would be through the tactics of business recognition. So tagging businesses after the event to strengthen the business community relationships. And again, talking about our mission. And through event information, so graphics on social media, and then tactic 3, mission awareness, and including that in our golf outing information. In hindsight, I should have recognized the sponsors both before and after the event on social media and on the website to help bring awareness to others and engage people, and then to also hopefully have further businesses donate as well. Because I only did it after, but in hindsight, I would have done it before as well. And then my second objective is to increase the engagement with local businesses and organizations to strengthen community relationships by attracting at least 24 teams from the local businesses to the golf outing by July 10th of 2024. And to do that, my first strategy is to improve business community engagement. And I was able to do that through the tactics of social media and website. So by advertising the golf outing on social media to get golfers and teams and sponsors, by having community leader involvement. So I personally met with local government officials and business leaders to influence, to get people to participate in the golf outing and hopefully strengthen our ties with the community figures. And then through sponsorships, so securing sponsorships and in-kind donations for the raffle and door prizes from the local businesses, offering them recognition and social media shout outs.
Just
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Something real quick, Kristen. This is Kurt. And I'm just again, I'm fairly new at APR. There's a lot of great people in the chat, and I know you can read those later. But something I might mention, and Rory, see what you think. You're like on tactic 2, or first of all, I think like those bold things. I would just go right to the tactic. Just go tactic number 1, advertise the golf outing, and then tactic 2. It says meet personally, but what does that mean? Does that mean like a more of an action word, like you're going to schedule meetings with local government officials? Because you have meeting personally with, well, what does that mean? So maybe a little more specific on the tactic. I'm going to, schedule meetings with, or something like that. And then same with sponsorships. But I would say, because again, just minimizing what's on the screen, just go right to that tactic and say secure sponsorships. But it's all good. It's just being a little more action, like on the tactic, being a little more specific on that, and how you're going to meet personally with local government officials. What does that mean? Are you going to schedule a get together? Are you going to, set, individual meetings or something like that, I guess. And I would just throw that out there to be a little more specific on the tactic.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with Kurt. I mean, you could definitely streamline this section a little bit more. I kind of, yeah, again, it's like when you start to think about like, all right, is this something that I can achieve immediately? That's the tactic, right? And then when it's more of this like setting up meetings, it's like that could again start to get into strategy. But yeah, I agree with what Kurt's saying. I also might think about tightening up the objective here too, to focus on, you know, who does what by when and how much, right? So who, because you're saying attract at least 24 teams instead of attract, right? Maybe, you know, have X members of the business community form 24 teams by July 10th. But yeah, it's like, because the increased engagement with local businesses and organizations, that's already, we already understand that's like, that's part of the grand strategy, right? But like this objective, I think you could tighten it up a little bit more.
Okay. And then the tactic for having the companies enter teams into the golf outing. So by having them sign up for the golf outing. And then my second objective, second strategy is to create collaborative events at the golf outing. So one of those events is breakfast, and I provided food, coffee, and places for the golfers to sit and talk with the foundation board members. And during the golfing, they also were able to talk with them and bond and build those relationships in a relaxing setting. And then at lunch, we did the same thing. And then during prizes and awards, we had time for the golfers to be able to view raffle items and purchase raffle tickets, and provide time for the golfers to select door prizes, talk with the board members. And it was just a relaxed setting to help build those communications. And then objective 3 is that the DeKalb Central Foundation will raise $25,000 through the DeKalb Central Foundation by July 19th of 2024. And to do that, the first strategy is to create partnerships with local businesses. And the tactics to be able to accomplish that are securing sponsorships. So I went individually to businesses asking them to provide sponsorships and in-kind donations in exchange for offering them recognition and event materials, signage, and social media shoutouts. And then companies entered teams into the golf outing to be able to create those relationships with them. And then participation in the golf course games. So from some of my research and those in-depth interviews, we learned that having additional on-course games could help generate revenue. And so we had mulligans, hole of fortune, we had cornhole, hit the golf ball with a basket with a baseball bat, and then we had the high school girls golf team doing a drive the ball for the to a hole, and shipping contests for additional costs as a way to help teams lower their score to be able to win. And then we sold raffle tickets as well. And board members signed up to purchase and put together the baskets for the raffles. And I talked with business members to donate nicer items like diamond necklaces.
That's great. Hey, Kristen, before we move on to implementation, though, I want to note something else that I noticed there. So you had mentioned sponsorships earlier as a tactic, right? How was that different from sponsorships for objective 3? I think it might have been back in either for second objective, first strategy, possibly. Yeah, there it is. So tactic 3, sponsorships. Does that section need to go over to objective number 3, or does it have a different home here for?
Well, I guess I was thinking that it went with when I was doing the personal meetings with them. If they didn't want to sign up for a golf team, then I asked them if they wanted to be a sponsor or give in-kind donations for raffle tickets or prizes or door prizes. So I kind of did it both times.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And Kirsten, as long as you're stopped, the implementation part, just due to time, normally we would have time in a real panel presentation, but I would like you to just kind of, because this is collateral, just kind of go through and you know, so you've got the Christmas card, you can go to the next slide, and you've got materials for the outing and the website. Go ahead, the next slide. And then there's the website as well. And
It's
that's
just showing the mission of that I've been talking about, our mission, our
That's
thank you
great.
notes, the
That's
press
great.
releases, again, talking about our
Great.
mission and
Great.
thanking our people. And then the evaluation for the first objective, which was to have 90% of our local businesses and organization members who participate in the golf outing knowing the objective. We had 100% of people. I gave a survey at the golf outing afterwards, and I asked them if here's my outing or my survey. So I asked them again how they were connected and did they know who we were? Did they know our mission? Did they know any grants? And if they kind of their feedback on the golf outing. Would you like to do it again? What suggestions do you have? And as you can see, I had the majority of business and organizations, and everybody knew who the DeKalb Central Foundation was, what our mission was, and things we've done. And they all wanted to do it again. And this was their feedback, and they were all super happy. And then the valuation for the second objective is that we ended up having 30 teams from local businesses and organizations, and then 2 from the district and community at the golf outing. So we exceeded the objective of having 24, and this is the breakdown of them. The third objective is that I wanted to raise $25,000, and I raised $27,715.60. And you can see the breakdown. The majority did come from our sponsors, and we did have quite a few from our games here as well that we sold in addition to. And then the budget for the volunteer hours, because we're a volunteer board. And so I just kind of guesstimated on that. And then for sponsorship recognition, for the golf course fees, and then the marketing for the Christmas cards and the thank you cards and the stamps and all the supplies, the goodie bags, all of that. It came out to be $2,854.40. And then if you get rid of the volunteer hours, it'd be just about $1,500. And then this is my Gantt chart or my timeline as to who did what by when and our follow-ups. And you kind of get the idea on that. And then the overall next steps from it is that we did accomplish the goals of spreading awareness and getting the community and businesses engaged. And we exceeded the amount raised for the golf outing. And basically, in hindsight, I would have recognized the sponsors both before and after the event. And the next outing, we continue to reflect through it and spread awareness to be able to raise money to help the school district.
Excellent. Really good job. Excellent. Fantastic. So let's get some quick comments. And we've had, Kirsten, first of all, one thing I forgot to say at the very beginning is that your presentation is great. What we do here is we nitpick for APR. So you are getting feedback way beyond what a normal plan would get. So Kurt, why don't you go ahead and start and just share just some overall feedback there.
Yeah, sure, Michael. And there's a lot of great feedback in the chat. And so there's a lot of good knowledge and comments out there. I think too, again, Kristen, everything's there, and you know this inside and out. And I noticed there was a comment which I agree with in terms of the whole purpose of the panel presentation is to show that you understand the process and not. And so in some ways, I think there's ways that you can streamline some things. Again, having tons of information is a great problem to have. And so that's not the problem. You have all of everything you need to have a passing panel presentation. I would just recommend, and I might be, because people are all going to have their own opinions, right? On how they like things presented or given to them and this and that. But the key is just to have all of that key information and to walk the panel through that process, that you understand, here's this, here's that, and you have that all there. But just to look for places to where you can make, like on tactics, make sure it's an actual tactic that you're doing, where you're writing a news release, you're doing something, and again, not a strategy or something more vague, but there was a lot of good things in there. I keep getting feedback from people, and that's the great thing, is you can talk to other, you present it to some other people, make some changes that you think you need to make, and then do it again with someone else. But again, there's a lot there. Everything is there that you need. It's just a matter of letting the panel know that you understand the process and how it all works, and take them from beginning to end. Not that, as someone said in the chat, that you don't need for them to understand the entire campaign, but just the steps, make it clear on what you were set out to do, how you're doing it, and then the evaluation and all those steps. So clearly, again, everything's there. It's just a matter of fine tuning it a bit, and you'll be fine.
So,
Great,
yeah,
Rory.
I absolutely agree with Kurt. I absolutely agree with Michael. I think it's a fantastic presentation you've done. Clearly, you've done a lot of work on this campaign. The research leading up to it, first of all, getting that many survey responses is pretty amazing. So I think, kudos to you, first of all, just for that sort of foundational research. Also, yeah, I have to agree with Kurt, just streamlining a couple of areas, and going back also to that research if it's possible, because your presentation, while you were talking about all the different publics, and you do have a lot of research from the publics that weren't presented here, again, students, parents, well, mostly students, but thinking about if you could return to that survey research and focus in on the businesses and business leaders, those responses, right? Because you had a significant amount there in that initial survey, and then thinking about how that's changed over time with this specific campaign. I think that might be helpful if you still have that information, if you're still able to go back and drill down. Otherwise, I mean, I think that this is overall very strong, and you've done a great job. So, and then one last thing I'd say, because I was asked this during my panel presentation, everybody's asked this during their panel presentation, is what is going to come next, right? What's the next campaign that you're thinking about? And that might be the opportunity where you talk about, different outreach campaigns that you've done for parents, different outreach campaigns that, you've included students in, and so on and so forth. But yeah, but thank you.
One of the things we did do is, after having all this research, we realized that students didn't know either, and that's who we're trying to serve. And so we have done several events that are geared strictly at the students to get them involved.
Kurt, you had a final thing?
Yeah, I was just going to say, to piggyback real quick on Rory, is, no presentation is going to be perfect, and they may see something where there was a gap, and you may know that there are some gaps, and you may address that in your presentation. Or someone may say, hey, well, what about this? And you say, well, yes, that was, and if we didn't have, that was, you acknowledge things that weren't in it, or you explain things that maybe weren't done, or done well, or how you would have wanted it to happen. So just understanding that it doesn't have to be a perfect campaign. Mine wasn't by any stretch, but it's understanding that, yes, there were some weaknesses here, and they might ask you some questions about that, or you may be proactive in saying, no, here, no, I understand that really this should have happened here, it didn't, and that's a gap that and just to explain those things, and you may get asked those questions about things like that, or things maybe, what would you have done different, or what were some of the challenges, or some of those things they may ask, that just be prepared to answer those questions and show that understanding that you clearly know.
Great job, Kirsten. And we'll send you that text chat. Really a great experience for everybody, including the people who listen to that. We do encourage you to study first. The examination is a significant examination. You have to get 63%. It's basically 82 questions. We do recommend studying all of the KSAs before you take the examination. Examination recommendations, and I'll get some feedback from the panel as well. One is, frankly, I actually think the secret, this is my personal opinion, the secret to the APR is Grunig's excellence theory, which is two-way symmetrical communication. Most organizations do not do that. They push information out to their audiences and expect them to change. The two-way symmetrical means that you're listening to the audience as much as you're communicating with them. And that's a really difficult thing. But it seems to me that the APR is really focused on that. So if you understand that, you can answer most of the questions on the examination. Ethics is really important in the APR as well. Process is really important, as you've heard. And then also understanding how to build a strategy and how that works, and return on investment. Are you spending the resources appropriately for audiences? The recommendations for examination: don't cram, think high level, think strategy, reflect, and think about how you would use principles. Try not to memorize. There are some things that you should know, but they're really just about how you use them. Relax. Anxiety is not your friend when you're in the examination. Find a way to calm yourself. I really recommend that if you've studied really hard, get a mindset that you're already an APR and walk in just realizing that you're just proving that you're an APR to someone else who doesn't know that you're an APR. That's really it. Beta questions are on the examination. Don't spend time on beta questions. They're not identified. But what that means is when you get a question and it's like, yeah, I want to read this 5 or 6 times, do not do that. Flag it and go to it at the end, because it may be a question that is a beta question. It's not graded. So don't flag questions that you don't know, and just do the questions that you do know. Finally, and I really love this, I'm ultimately an educator. While I've been doing all these years, I mean, I've got APR through the pores, but I have to tell you that education is about reflection. It's about going, and just pondering. And sometimes the best way to ponder is to get an apple, sit under a tree, and just think and imagine and ponder. So that is really excellent strategic thinking time, is just going to a park and thinking about all this. So thank you all very much. Let's get some final words of encouragement from our panel. Rory.
Sure. First off, I want to say good luck to Karen, Nicole, Jay. I saw in the comments that you have your tests coming right up. You're going to do fantastic. I think it's just what Michael was saying. If you don't know the answer, just flag it, come back to it. I had to do that, and I had basically 10 minutes for a break, and that was pretty much it. I've heard other people that had a lot longer, so just get in there, answer as much as you can, and then go back to it. Don't get too stuck. You're going to do great, though.
Kurt.
Yeah, I just think of when you're trying to grow grass, you sprinkle, you don't shoot it with a fire hose. When you study, just let it soak in, and then as you get closer, find those areas that you don't understand as well, but also understand you're not going to get every question right. You're going to miss some questions. Know where to cut your losses. Concentrate on the things you really understand, the big things, and you'll do fine. Just don't think you're not going to get every question right. And so just how you study best, and do that well. Get lots of help, ask questions, get input from those who've been there before, and everyone will do fine.
Fantastic. So this is the last meeting of the cohort. So now I really want to help you understand, and you'll get email messages from me, but basically keep studying. If you're not ready to take the examination, keep studying. You have until August 15th. The course will close on August 15th. go ahead and just check off the activities. When you get to 75% and you've done the case problem response activity 6.6, and you've done the panel presentation practice activity 10.5, you've had those reviewed, you are ready to take the examination. And we are confident that you'll be able to pass the examination. So that's that. PRSA is going to launch a new course. I don't want to cast any blame, but I am going to say that the plan was for PRSA to have the other course ready to go now. Unfortunately, it's out of my control. It's not ready. So you will hear about it later. I'm really sort of sorry that we have this, and honestly, that's just the way it is. So what I really recommend to everyone is, number one, subscribe to the playlist on YouTube. I'm going to add all of the recordings for an entire year to that YouTube playlist. But remember that the APR study guide is your primary study resource. Print it off if you like paper, mark it up, and then also, and I don't have it here, but many of you have heard that we're going to put you into the spaced repetition study cards. They're called Brainscape. You're going to get a link. You have to set up an account. You can use it on your phone, and that will keep you engaged. We will have occasional, maybe monthly, get-together meetings. I will send out a note. We'll just chat amongst us. The final word, you know what? I've been doing this a long time. You know, we do 48 of these a year, and I've been doing it for 20 years. Obviously, we have other facilitators that do it, but every single meeting I have been involved in, this is my last meeting. I have to tell you one thing I'm going to tell you that's really important. I love you guys. When a teacher loves the students, that's when the magic happens. If you can figure out how to love others in your work situation, because obviously we're talking about a different kind of love than our partners and husbands and wives, but love is a really powerful tool for connecting with other people. And I don't know where your business is, but use the love and you're going to get through to a lot of people. I love you. Bye-bye.